Good morning, Rabbi Isai. We're starting Eli Stefansky. You guys, you have no idea. Geschmack. Okay, Rabbi Isai. You'll remember this day for a long time. This is the beginning of Eli Stefansky, and what a parak it's going to be. We're 40 daf into Chullin, and I told you it's going to be Geschmack, and it was Geschmack. We had 2 dapim of Yad Sheni and a Shlishi, which for me was super Geschmack. Maybe some of the Olam didn't appreciate it as much, but here we go. Mamish, easy and flowing, but hands-on Geschmack. Elu Treifos Bebehema. The Mishnah is going to list 18, doesn't say the word 18, but the Mishnah is going to list 18 different treifos. Mikuvas haveshet, if the esophagus, the food pipe, has a very small hole in it, even a mashu, like we always show this picture, but today we have even a real picture of Mikuvas. If you look closely, there's a little hole over there on the top. No, you don't see? Oh, here, right over here. See? Okay. A little, slight nick, a little hole through and through it makes it a treifa. Upsukas hagargeres. Where's my gargeres? Oh. Let's say this is the trachea, this is the windpipe. And if it's slit like this, that's a treifa, more than roiv, if it's more than 51%. Nikav krum shel moyach. Krum shel moyach. Here's a gargeres. There's a picture of a real trachea. The different rings. The outside is made out of cartilage, and the bottom where his fingers are actually meat. This is krum shel moyach. There's a membrane around the brain, almost like a plastic bag, sort of. It's hard to see it here if you have it. It's unbelievable the quality of these screens over here. But anyway, on my screen it's all. You could see like a shiny thing on the brain. That's the very, very thin membrane that wraps the brain. So if there's a little hole in that, that's a treifa. Nikav halev lebeis chalaloi. If the heart is punctured all the way to the cavity of the. Oh, I like that word. I wonder if the art school uses that. The word cavity. Probably. Here's the cavity. The heart has cavity. That's where the blood goes into and it gets pumped out from there. The chamber. He calls it chamber. I like cavity better. Cavity is geschmack. It is a chamber. They're right. They are right. But it happens to be that cavity explains it better. If the hole goes through and through, we actually have a real picture of a real heart. If you don't like this stuff, you don't have to look. Here's a hole in the heart that goes into the cavity. Nishbara hashidra. If the spine broke, v'nifsak hachutshela. The main part here is that the spinal cord, the chut, was severed. That creates a treifa, not the fact that the spine broke. Spine can break and a person can live, an animal can live. But the fact that the cord broke, how does the cord break? By breaking the spine. That's the whole point. Beautiful picture that Yoshi put together here. I worked with him on this just to get the blue, which is not real. It's not the color, but to emphasize the cord, because it gets lost. And he actually made some of the, I don't know if you notice, some of the vertebrae are glass, are like plastic, so you can see through. Nidala kovid v'lo nishtayir menu klum. If the liver, it's interesting, the word kaved means heavy. It's the heaviest organ in the body. Is it heavier than skin? I guess it is. I don't know. They say that's why it's called kaved. But we know that the liver is the only organ in the body that regenerates. And if there's a small piece left of the liver, it will regenerate back to normal. So that's why it says nidal hakaved. If the entire liver was removed, nothing was left over, then it's a treifa. Hareya shenikva oisha chasra. If a lung, here's a lung. It's amazing. Like if you've never seen it, it's pretty cool because it's all shriveled up, and then you blow into it. It's like a balloon, blows up. I want to show you this, I guess. Okay, there's a lung. If it has a little nekev, if you notice, we're talking about all these things that have nekev, a little hole, a nikav alev, nikuvas haveshet. Hareya shenikva, you have a lung that has a little puncture in it. Or shechasro, it's missing a piece. The Gemara is going to ask if it's missing a piece, so it has a puncture. Rabbi Shimon Oimer, achitinokev the base has some finite. So Rashi says base has some finite is something like this. If you look closely at this picture, a lot of these pictures I received yesterday from Rabbi Avram Beisfish, our in-house shochet. He was on Zoom. He's amazing. He has a picture for everything, basically. And these little blood vessels, or whatever they are in there, they say it's not really blood, but the symphytus are these pipes that are in the lungs. It has to go up to there, according to Reb Shimon. Nikva hakeva. We'll be discussing this. There are 4 stomachs. The food goes into stomach number 1. It's called the keres. From there, it moves on to the beis hakaisos. I have here beis hakaisos, but it's kind of frozen and it's shriveled up in the freezer. I have also hemsis. I'll just show you. This piece is actually this piece over here on the glove. The design is magnificent. It's really beautiful. And then the second one is called hemsis. It also has a crazy design of lines. Here's a blow up of a beis hakaisos. So you can see over here, what happens is the grass that the animal eats gets chewed up, goes into the keres, gets digested, and then goes into this beis hakaisos. And the beis hakaisos forms kaisos, like balls. And each little piece of grass goes into each one of those cavities. And therefore it has a bunch of these balls. And then it does maligera, it takes those balls, goes back to the mouth, and it re-chews it again. Then it goes back in, somehow it knows how to go back in and go avoid the first 2, and goes from there to the hemsis. The beis hakaisos and the hemsis are back to back. Interesting. Yeah, you can see. Wow, you can see grass in the bottom right over there. It's yum. Nikva hakeva. Now, from the hemsis it goes to the keva, which is the 4th thing, right? So we said there's a keres, beis hakaisos, hemsis, and it goes to keva. So if there's a puncture in the keva, no good. Nikva hamara. Now, what about the hemsis and the beis hakaisos if they have a puncture? So that we're going to talk about soon. Nikva hamara, if the gallbladder has a puncture, it's nervayim. It's very bitter stuff, mara. Again, we're talking about nikva. I'm pointing it out because the Gemara is going to take all of these and put them into one category called nikva. So they're all considered one. The bottom line is there's a puncture. Nikva akeva, nikva hamara, nikvu hadakin. I love this picture. One of my favorite. I didn't see all the pictures, but this one, just a great picture because I took the dakin. I was playing jump rope with it. Like I did a double. I never did before, but it worked out well. And they grabbed that shot. These are the small intestines. They're very long. Food goes through all that. Hakeres hapnimis shenikva. The Gemara is going to discuss what the pnimis is, what's chitzayin is, but the keres. That's the first stomach that the food goes into. Truth is, we have Yoshi worked on it. I might as well show this. It's a very nice picture. A lot of stuff that we're discussing here. You can see the mara right over here. That's the gallbladder, that green guy. You can see the beis hakaisos over here, that honeycomb, and the hemsis next to it. What are we talking about now? The heart, lungs, kaved, kava, keres. Are we at keres? So this is right over here. He says, that's the keres. These are the kishkas, the ma'ayim. Okay, so. Hakeres hapnimis shenikva, that had a puncture, or shenikra roivach hitzoino, or it was ripped, most of it from the outside. Rabbi Yehuda, it depends. Hagdoila tefach. If it's a large animal like a bull, so you have to have at least 1 tefach, 1 fistful of a rip. Baktana, but you have a smaller animal like a baby, a calf. So even if it's less than a tefach, beruba, as long as it's the majority. Oh, so now we're going back to the hemsis of beis hakaisos. Hemsis of beis hakaisos shenikvu lachutz. So that's fascinating because over here you could see. If if you look closely, you notice the grass. What you didn't notice is this nail lodged in here. Is that puzzle or not? Well, that's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about a puncture wound that goes through and through. Here, you'll see the flip side. This is, you see the blood? And there's some sort of nail there. You can see the nail that went through it while it's alive. How do you know? Because you see the, I guess, maybe because you see that it was injured before, not after it died, I think. The Beis HaKoisais dumps the food in to the hemsis. They're connected. They have a pipe going one to the other. If you add another opening from the hemsis into the base, from the Beis HaKoisais to the hemsis, nothing happened. You'll double the capacity of it to move from one to the other. You didn't cause permanent damage. You cause damage if you're going to puncture the outer wall of the Beis HaKoisais. If a nail goes through and through, like we just saw, that's problematic because then food is going to go into the body. It's going to leak out. So that's what he's saying over here. Hemsis Beis HaKoisais shenikvu lachutz, but not lifnim. Lifnim would mean on the wall that connects the two of them, and there's a hole that goes through and through. That's not a problem. Nafna minagag. This is the story that I told you about my father, myself, and Bnei Brak. He was concerned about this, the Nafla Minagag, which later on I said over there, Dal Ramas, I saw yesterday, it says 10 Tfachim is a problem. And that if an animal falls, 10 Tfachim, somebody told me, Reb Weisfish left me a message. He said, listen, it happens. If a truck full of chickens flips over, trucks flip over, they're all treif as nefula. But I don't know the halacha in a bird, but I know that when it comes to a behema, if an animal falls off a roof, roof means a table is also a roof. Anything that's above 10 tefachim is a roof. So it's a mushal of something high. You wait 24 hours. If the animal is good after 24 hours, walking around normal, he's kosher. What happens is the guy doesn't know halacha. His animal falls off the roof. He says, "Let me shecht him right away." You shecht right away, that's it. You can't eat it because you don't know. You can't open it up and find the treifa. The treifa is it's a category of risiko varim of nefula. It's called nefula. Exactly what I don't know. So Mela, don't check your nefula within 24 hours. If you wait 24 hours and it's good, then you're good. The shtabru roiv tzaluiseha, if most of its ribs were broken, udrusas has a ave. When a wolf attacks, so Rashi explains that a wolf has poison in its nails. We could understand today, what does he mean, poison? Poison, what, he's a snake? Poison means germs. He has rabies. He has poison, meaning he has decayed flesh in his paws, in his claws. And those claws, in addition to causing damage, they also inject an infection, and the animal dies from the infection. So in Mela, once this animal is going to get ripped up by this wolf, it's done, because eventually it's going to die from the infection. That's how I'm learning it. Udrusa sari, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, drusa zeh bedaka. When you're talking about a sheep, okay, so that it'll die from an infection from a wolf. No. In order to die from an infection, when it comes to a larger animal, that you need drusas ari. Then you need a lion. His infection and his claws are much stronger, and they'll go through the hide of a larger animal, like a cow, begasa. Drusas hanates, hawks. So we have these in, I believe, unless I'm confusing the hawk with something else, I think it's the hawk. In Chicago, they say they have them there twice. I witnessed it. They come, they're very, very fast flyers. They just come in between the branches, and just like this picture, and they just pick up a pigeon and just fly away with it. And they'll go to like a fence or something, sit there and just pick at it until all its feathers are gone, and they kill it. So these claws of the snakes, they'll create the same problem in a chicken. No, drusas hanates ba'oif hadak, in a smaller bird like a pigeon, or drusas hagas, and a larger bird like this. Here's a gewaldige picture. This is real, Rabbi. This is not a joke. This is an eagle holding on to a sheep, yeah? A baby sheep. This is the real deal. So you have a larger bird. the hawk is much smaller, much weaker than that. It can do a bird, but it can't do a sheep. So, Drusas hagas ba'if hagas. Sorry, where am I? Drusas hanes ba'if hadat. Drusas hagas ba'if hagas. And larger bird, what does it say on the side over here? I didn't notice.
Like dogs and chickens.
Yeah, like chickens, exactly. Turkey. Zaklal. Kol she'en kamoya chaya treifa. So the Mishnah finishes off saying, like the man we're going to see is in the second of Machlokes, anything that can't survive the year is considered a treifa. If it could survive the year, it's not a treifa. Where do we see this idea of treifa in the Torah? Minayin. Well, the treifa lo yisichelos. A first pasuk that says treifa. What do you mean? Where do you see it in the Torah? Oh, no. What I meant to ask is, since there's a machlokes, whether the treifa survives a year or not, there's a man that says even it could survive 22 years, but it's missing a limb. It's a treifa, whatever one of these things. It has a hole in its kishkes. It could survive 10 years. It's still a treifa. So where do we see that a treifa doesn't live? The Tani Seifa Zaklal. It says in our Mishnah, the last line, Zaklal Kol Shein Kamoy Chaya Treifa. So he says, Kol Shein Kamoy Chaya Treifa in Chaya. Where do I know that halacha that a treifa doesn't survive? A doctor meets a patient. He says, "I have good news and bad news." What's the good news? He says, "The good news is you're going to live for a week." He says, "That's the good news." If that's the good news, what's the bad news? He says, "Oh, I've been searching for you for 6 days already." Zok the Gemara, he's not going to live. A treifa is not going to live. So the simple pshat in the pasuk, anybody that reads this pasuk, zois hachaya, these are the animals that you're allowed to eat. No. Zois hachaya, the living. These are the living asher toichlu. Chaya, something that could live and survive, you're allowed to eat. Anything that you know that's not going to survive, you're not permitted to eat. But and that's the pshat why treifa you can't eat. It's not going to live. That's why you can't eat it. And according to the one that argues and says that a treifa does live, how does he know that a treifa is a problem? This particular one you're allowed to eat, but there are other animals that you're not permitted to eat. What does that mean? Even though they're going to live, the treifa chaya, you see that a treifa does survive, and those you shall not eat. These you eat, these you don't eat, even though they're going to live. And according to the man that says treifa does not survive. He uses the man that says treifa chaya uses the word zois. So now the treifa ein chaya, what does he do with the word zois? This is Moiridik. The Tana Rei Rishmal. The Tana Rei Rishmal, Zois Achaya Asher Toichlu. Milamei Shetavas HaKadosh Baruch Hu Mikol Min V'Min. HaKadosh Baruch Hu took every single species in the world. You think about it, it's a Neis Galoi. How did Moshe Rabbeinu know what a elephant looked like? What a chimpanzee looked like? A tiger that you only have in Asia. How did it get to the desert between Egypt and Israel? Mitzrayim and Eretz Yisrael. Where? How did it get there? Kadosh Baruch Hu lifted it up and brought it to him. He said, Zois, here's an elephant, here's a this, here's a that. Zois echoil v'zois loy teichol. V'dechnami miboylei. The Ketana the Rei Rishmal. Oh. Now if you hold treifa chaya, v'dechnami miboylei Ketana the Rei Rishmal. But he also needs to teach us that because Baruch Hu showed Moshe Rabbeinu every single animal, and there's millions. Says Gemara Einochanami. So now we're stuck. El Treifa Chaim and all said. So now we have to go back. They both they need that whole pasuk to teach us that idea of the Tanah B'Rei Shmuel that Baruch Hu showed all the Chaim. So how do you know that if you hold Treifa Chaya that's considered a Treifa? Nafkalei meidach the Tanah B'Rei Shmuel. It's another one. Tanah B'Rei Shmuel. There's a chaya that loy seyachel. There's something that's alive and it's going to live more than the 12 months and still, nevertheless, loy seyachel. Says Tanah B'Rei Rishmal and he gives a number. And this is problematic and that's what gets us into the next sugya. He tells us a number. You can't go to 19. He says these are the 18 that are halacha l'Moshe Sinai. You're not going to find them in the Torah exactly. The kuvas haveshes and a cholol of the lave. You're not going to see it. Akash Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, these are the 18. And Memela, we have a beautiful sugya. Ask the Gemara, okay, if you count it up in the Mishnah, in fact, it'll be 18. But Rabbi Shmuel says, these are the 18. He says 18, he says the number. And once you say a number, it's very difficult to get out of the number, and we don't get out of the number. We're going to stick to this number. Ask the Gemara, Bazgar. Bazgar is 4 things. Beis, Samach, Gimel, Reish. So that's 4. It's another 4, so we're at 22. Vishev Shmaitza, this is the only place I believe in Shas that says Vishev Shmaitza, and this is where the Ktsois has the famous Shav Shmaitza. He wrote it when he was like 13 years old, and he said one Shmaitza every single day of Shav Bracha. Shav means 7. So now what's the question? The question is, Talmud Beit Yishmael says 18. And our Mishnah brings 18, doesn't say a number. But there's a lot more than 18. We just saw another 11. 4 Bazgar and Shav Shmaitza. 7. Bishlam Tana Didon says the Gemara, the Tana, he says the amount. Well, the Shire and whatever he left over, the 11 he left over. At the end of the Mishnah, there's a rule. This is the rule. What's the rule? That if it doesn't live, it's a treifa. It's considered a treifa, and that's it. So all these 11 things, they're not going to live, so they're considered a treifa. It's included in the rule. Zaklal. But if you hold that there's only 18, there's no more. Oh, so now the Gemara is going to go through Bazgar first. The Beis Samach Gimel Reish. So Behema Shenechtachu Regleh is the Beis. If its leg, its hind leg, got cut, Minar Kuba Ulamala Treifa. Animals have like 3 knees, sort of, 3 bending parts. We have 2. So it's from the upper knee and up. In other words, the entire thigh bone, not the shin, but where the shin and the thigh bone meet, from that point and up. Here, I just threw it in here. It's a picture of a picture, but from this arrow and up, and from the arrow and down is not a treifa. Great. So it's a kasha. So we're going to do one of these. Let's see if this works today. So these are the 18 of the Mishnah. So the Gemara asks, what about, it's a little slow, what about Behema Shenechtachu Regleh? So we have 19. Should be 19. Says the Gemara, Sovelok Reb Shimon ben Elazar Damar Yicholehi Likaves V'Lichyois. Reb Shimon ben Elazar holds that you could, solder it, if that's the right word. Yeah, I saw my father, what? Cauterize, that's the word, cauterize. So you do some sort of surgery. No, you don't do it. Yeah, you do one of these, closing off. And then it can live. Says Gemara, okay, let's say you could do that. Leman Ka'amar. Who's the question according to? The question is, the Tanna of Rabbi Shmuel says there's 18, and you found the 19th. But Tanna of Rabbi Shmuel himself holds Treifa Chayas Virle. He holds that a Treifa could live, survive. So let's say it has a cut foot, but it could survive. You don't have to. You can do surgery, you can't do surgery. It's not important. Even if you don't do surgery, it could survive. So why is it not 19? It should be number 19. The thing is, you don't have 19 because if you have a cut leg, that's not a treifa, that's kosher. That's why it's not part of the list here. Fine. Great. Next question. Ve'ika chisarim b'shidra. Chisar b'shidra means that's the samach. Chisaron, samach of Bazgar. If you have one of the the vertebrae of the spine missing, there's not. Kama chisar b'shidra. If you have a skull of a dead person, that creates tumas oil. The whole room, the whole house becomes tamei. And also if you have a full spine, but if you have something missing from the spine, it's not tamei. Whether it's 2 or 1, that according to Bishamai, it will be a treifa, it's missing 2. And according to Bisil, you see, on the one hand, Kula and Chumra, we're going to discuss it tomorrow. According to Bishamai, 2 vertebrae creates a treifa. According to Bisil, 1. So you have 19. You have 1 that's missing a chulya. So, says the Gemara, Hemses ubeis hakoises the choshavtlu betarte. You consider it Hemses ubeis hakoises. It's on the left column towards the top. So take a look at these 2. They become 1. Yeah? These 2 become 1. And now we're going to put the Chazarah Shidra in that slot, and now you have 18. You take 1 out, and now you put 1 in. Says the Gemara, Vayika Gluda. You have an animal. This would have been Givaldik. An animal walking around without skin. It got sunburned or something. All it's gimel. That's Beseger. The gimel Beseger. So says the Gemara, so like Remeir the Machshir. Remeir holds that it is kosher. It's not a 19th. It's kosher. It's not a treifa. As the Gemara, Charusa. There's something called charusa. Charusa means like a dried date. So it's long shriveled up. Basically, it got frightened by a human being, and it shriveled. It's one of its lungs shriveled, and that's it. It doesn't go back to where it was. It has trauma. In English, it's called trauma. It's a cycle. Here, look at this. Oh, you missed it. Says the Gemara, Nikva Mara. It's smack in the center of this whole chart. We're going to take that out, toss it out, and instead we're going to insert the charusa. You're right. Charusa is one of them. Mara is not. A punctured gallbladder is not a problem. Mara manikatani lo Rabbi Yehuda. Gemara v'ayel charusa. Great. Ask the Gemara v'ikishav shmaitza. But what do? We have another 7. Take a look. We put all 7 over here, and we're going to go through them real quickly. It's fascinating when you learn the science over here. You see the pictures. Buka da'atma. We have a real buka da'atma from the Oisei Hayoim. If I can find it, here we go. Basically, joints have a ball, like a bearing. Is that what it is? A ball and it fits in a socket. A ball and a socket. Hakadosh Baruch Hu made it's unbelievable. I said that yesterday. There's a ball. And because you have a ball, it can rotate within the socket. So if the ball comes out of his hand, it's very interesting. I just want to show you real quickly. This ball and socket, if you notice, I had one of these problems. I should know what it's called. The ACL, the tendon, whatever, the ligament snaps. It snapped. That's when it becomes treifa. If the ball in the socket pop out, it's not a treifa. It's when the ligament snaps, and over here in this picture, you can see the snapped ligament. So that's another one. If it has a problem with one of its kidneys, I threw in a picture here of a luxa bekulya. I thought I did, maybe I didn't. I know I received one from Reb. I'll give it to the editors if they remind me. Okay? Luxa bekulya achas, in other words, it's full of pus and it's really bad. Now you could donate a kidney, but if an animal has a bad kidney, that's going to be a bad thing for the animal to trade. Utnan, nitalat chol kshera. If you remove the spleen completely, it's okay. Only you remove it completely, but if you have a puncture, it's no good. If the con and the veshet are shaky, they're dangling, most of them, it's a treifa. Before we learned about broken ribs, now we're talking about one rib completely removed from its, uprooted from its mikar. Mikar treifa. A crushed skull, most of it is crushed. And the meat the flesh that covers the keres, the intestines, the whatever, we'll see. Most of it treifa. So says the Gemara. So nachama. So we're over here, right? We are over here. We have 7 in addition to the 18. Says the Gemara. Take a look. In the Mishnah, there's 8 different puncture wounds: veshes, moyach, leiv, etc. So what we do is take a look at this now. We have a folder called Nekuvos. We're going to take out all the 8, all the red ones, and put them in one folder. So now one folder is 1. That's all 8 are considered 1, called nekev. Plus the 7, we're going to put it all back into place, and everything is gevaldik. Now we have 18. Chashvinu b'chad. All of those 8 are considered one folder. All the reds. Apik shav, ayil shav. You take out 7, put back 7. We have the shav shmaisa, the 7 that we just discussed, the bukdatma, the ball, and the bearing. Okay, so that you're right. That's one of the 8. In the Mishnah, we have 2 that are separated. One of them was this, right? The cut trachea. We also have the broken spine that we showed in the video. You should consider 1, not 2. So now you have 1 extra. You have the spleen, so that's a 9th punctured one. What do you do about the punctured spleen? The 2 that we discussed, the cut leg, that you said, no, that's not a problem, we hold it's kosher. And the gluda, the animal walking around without skin, which is a problem. We said it's not a problem. Loy topic. Leave that back in there in the Mishnah. So, Rabbi said, before you go, one last thing I got to show you. So this is, at the end of the day, these are the 18. If you take a look here, you'll have the Book of the Atma, you have all the stuff, this, and I'm just looking for, Nechtechu Ragleh, number 9 is Nechtechu Ragleh. We inserted it back in. This should be somewhere, Chisar Bashidra, number 10. Rabbi Isai, and all 8 is number 1. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day and enjoy Elu Treifas.
Merit the schus of spreading Torah throughout the world. Sponsor a shir today. MDYsponsor.com or sponsor at MDY.com.